everybody. Welcome to another Paramerican radio podcast. I am your host, Chad Kalick. As always, hanging out with the Persia Panther, the Bettendorf Badass, the man who dances when he eats toast because the jelly jar says twist to open, Mr. Justin Osteen.
How long
you put
spent?
the banana in split, dog, all right? That's who you are. And as always, our compadre, Steve Tinder Zilberman, the man that sets records with Tinder every day. He is he is a legend in at least 3 countries. Now that he is back from Medellin, where he's starting a family there, from what I understand. Probably got 3 or 4 kids on the way.
It's possible.
That's terrible, man. God, that's terrible. Oh, God. How are we doing today, guys? You know, on my way here, I had one of those moments, you know, when I first moved to Los Angeles from Iowa. Every day, say it was like a holiday. I'd wake up and I'd be like, "Oh my God!" And I always wondered when that would wear off. You know what I mean? The beauty of LA. I don't want to say that it's ever really worn off, but you know, like anything, something kind of becomes your home. But I had one of those moments, man, where you know I pulled out and there's the beach and felt the breeze and. I was just thinking, God, this is a beautiful place. This is a beautiful place. Thank God I am in this little corner of the world, you know? Thank God I wound up here. It's good to have those moments, man, where you just feel like I must be doing something right because this is a good place in the world to be. You know what I mean? And then I thought about the fact that you have to go back to Iowa, Justin. I just felt fucking depressed for you. You know, I was just like, God, he's got to go back to Iowa when this is all over. But at least you got, you know, great family.
You know,
got an awesome wife. You got a killer son.
I can see why you'd think all that.
Your kid's a rapper, so that's cool. That's what I like about your family. Your kid's a rapper.
Yeah.
That's cool. Justin's son, I think, is the coolest kid in the world. What is up, young Juice? Justin, you know, got the nickname Juice in college because, like I said, he was the man who put the banana in the split. When you wanted to have a party and wanted to go off, you got a hold of Mr. Holstein. He was just a guy that kind of pushed the energy level. And I had heard a while ago that his son was a rapper. And at first I thought, you know, either the trends, kids follow trends, you know what I mean? And I knew G-Eazy was getting big. And you introduced me to G-Eazy, and you said your son listens to him. Yeah. And I thought, oh, he's probably just into G-Eazy, you know, so he's a white kid doing it. And then the next thing I know, you know, your son Jake is sending me rap songs that he's in it, and they're pretty good. I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And his last rap song, he wrote me into it. He actually had a shout out. He said the line was like Chad Kalick and his hat. Yeah, they stole my fucking style. That's what he said. I don't know what that means, really. Yeah. Maybe it just means to him, me wearing the hat backwards is a style. That's always been mine, which I think that's what I meant by it. I haven't asked him yet. I just think it's fucking cool that your kid's a rapper. I mean, you gotta love that, Justin.
You know, initially I didn't, just because it's more so you watch your kids in the direction in life they're going, you know, and he kind of dropped out. He was pretty good at football, dropped out, didn't want to hang out, not my crowd, really. Yeah. Dropped out of basketball, you know, his grades were kind of going downhill, and we're like, you know, when you're getting close to graduation, man, your worry is you don't want your kid living in your basement, you know? That ain't cool. So the idea that he said that he was, you know, working on rap beats and doing all this stuff with his buddy, I was thinking,
dope.
Well,
I think it's awesome.
I didn't know he would be any good. I honestly didn't, and that's always my fear. Like, you know, you don't want to tell somebody to be honest with them and go, no. It's no good, man. You know?
Look, when I first heard it, look, you were around when I first tried to sing and when I first tried to make music, and it was horrible, you know? And I'm not even, you know, it's taken 2 decades to get to a place that it's presentable, you know what I mean? Yeah. You know, I heard raw talent and what he was doing. I clever lyrics, good flow, unique sound.
I would say it was similar to Joe in the sense where you can't manufacture interest in a person. I don't even know what it is. Their tone, what their, I don't know what it is exactly. But Yeah, I didn't know it was him. I thought they stole whoever that was, the Juice thing, because on the very first track it said Chase featuring Juice or feet, dot Juice.
Yeah.
And he had stole the thing, the rap beat off the internet. So I'm assuming that there's a beat with, one chorus in it, and then you fill in, right?
Yeah.
So to try to be critical, I said, hey, it's pretty good, man. I go, Chase, needs to work on getting a little whatever. That other dude in there, that Juice.
Is Chase the guy that went by God?
No.
That's a different guy?
That's Vance.
That dude's good.
Yeah, Vance is good. Yeah.
Yeah. If I could give, if you're listening, a little Juice, just you and God. You and God need to do your thing. This rapper goes by God, G-O-double-G.
Yeah, it's
so G-O-double-D,
Yeah, it's so dope. G-O-double-D, yeah, God. Like, that's so fucking cool. And he's actually really good. So, yeah, if I could, Lil Juice, you keep sending me songs. And, by the way, if you're listening, bro, I owe you, about 3 texts worth of responses from the last 2 or 3 songs that you sent me. I am listening, my man. I just get a little wrapped up, but I'll definitely reach out to you. I just think it's cool. I think it's cool your kid's doing that he's rapping. I mean, as far as, I think did he get in trouble for a while? Was he smoking weed, or was he selling weed, or didn't he get in trouble with it or something like that?
Yeah. What happened is he had one of those little airsoft guns, right? And it was broken. So his buddy goes, well, so-and-so can fix it. So they all got in Jake's car and they started driving over there.
Right.
And they said, let me see it. So Jake passed it back to him, and they're like screwing around with it. And some families are driving by and they say, call 911, say somebody's got a gun and is driving. So they pull into a Taco Bell, and the cops surround him, guns drawn. Get out of the car.
Oh, Jesus.
And, it's funny, his buddy Chase, the other one he raps with, was working at Taco Bell at the time and watched the whole thing, because he called him afterwards, goes, dude, that was intense, man. And so what he actually got in trouble with wasn't even the pipe. That's just considered paraphernalia.
Yeah. What, do you have, like an ounce on or something?
My brother-in-law, Jake always had collected knives ever since he's a kid, like little Chinese things or whatever, right? And he had a knife that my brother-in-law gave him. I don't know if it was Christmas or something. And it was over the legal limit. So it's considered a lethal weapon.
So he got a weapons charge?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he got a weed charge. Oh, wow.
That's what the major trouble thing was. And the thing is, it's one of those deals, since he was a minor at the time, it'll get wiped off his record if he gets no other charges in the next 2 years. So it's one of those fun things, man. A little life lesson.
I didn't know it. Wow. I did not know it was a weapons charge. I thought it was a weed charge. So I was going to be like, fuck off. I mean, look, the thing about weed is, I tell you what, I pray that my daughter never does a drug, right? I especially pray she never smokes a cigarette, because I just know how hard it is to beat cigarettes, and I still haven't beat it. But if my child were to get caught with a drug, I pray it's weed, way over alcohol. Like, it blows my mind that alcohol is legal and weed isn't for so long. You know what I mean? I just never hear stories about someone, getting high and just like kicking the shit out of their wife, or taking their car and just ram it into a fucking intersection. This happens all the time with alcohol. Go to a bar on a nightly basis. Women are straight up sexually assaulted. Straight up. Happens every night. Dude gets drunk, decides, guys, you've seen these dudes, right? I'm going to grab titties. I'm going to grab ass and pussy. I don't care. They're trumping it. You know what I mean? And they just get drunk, and it's like just amazing that that's illegal. That's legal, and weed is such a battle to become. And I don't smoke weed. I honestly don't. You know this. I'm not bandstanding. I don't. I've never liked it. I don't like how it makes me feel. I've tried it. I just don't like it. But I see the absolute need for it, especially medicinally. It does wonders for pain. I know that. It didn't work for me, but I know people that suffer from chronic injuries and are like, thank God for weed, basically. I don't know how we got on this track. I was talking about your kid, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I love your kid. I think he's cool. I know he loves to come to LA. I can always kind of see it in his face when he's out here. He has that kind of excitement to him.
Big time.
It's interesting though. Like your kid, not to get on the tall thing again though. He's so much taller than you.
And he just tried to give me a pair of his old shoes that are size 12. That doesn't work for me at all. So, yeah. Got anything else to say? Follow me on SoundCloud.
I mean, he's tall, period. Just for, what's he, 6'2", probably? 6'1"?
Well, all of his uncles and his grandpa and everybody's 6'4",
Is Dana's family tall?
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, because he's a real tall kid. Just super nice kid as well, too. Steve, I didn't ask, do you have brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a brother.
Older or younger?
Younger. He's, I think, just turned 17.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
So are you guys in contact a lot?
Somewhat. I mean, he like, we kind of went like different
history
route.
there?
No, there's no history. It's just like my upbringing. I hung out with like the bad crowd, and I did drugs and stuff. And he is the exact opposite. He hates drugs.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's just straight up musician. One of these days we're gonna end up working together, like with animation. I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible. But yeah.
That's weird they use that as the defining line.
Yeah.
I did a lot of drugs.
Yeah, well,
he didn't do them. He didn't do them.
It's
but
true.
one of these days, we're going to do them together. And we're going to make animation. That's funny. It is true that ends up being such a dividing line, you know. That's so weird about that is I just think when it comes to drugs, I think there's, like all things in the world, I think in moderation there's a need for it. I think it aids in experience. It's mind expansive. Well, there's definitely a time and a place for it. You know, the problem is people like myself that are out there that have addictive personalities don't know how to control it. And the problem is it can kill you. Obviously, the wrong one can. Depends on what you want to try to do. You know. But yeah, that's why we're talking about legalizing, weed. I'm honestly completely 100% for legalizing all drugs. And I said this online and someone was just like, oh my God, do you know what that would do? Do you know what that would do to society? Do you know how many people would be doing drugs? It's like, sweetheart, they already are.
Yeah.
Dude,
they already are.
You know what I think we should do for a Blood Red Sky 2?
What?
Go down to South America. Take Joe again, and everybody does ayahuasca. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, dude, it's
mind expansive as hell. Yeah,
it's not only that; it's a lot of the Indians believed in this too. A lot of those various drugs weren't here by accident, right? So everything evolves for a reason. Meaning, milkweed. Maybe the farmers want to spray it and kill it because it gets in, bothers their crops. Right. But then once they do, it kills off these butterflies, and everything's interconnected in a sense where, sometimes you're not even really considering it. But I've been fascinated by a lot of the interviews I've watched of people that have gone down there and done it, and just like life-changing experience.
Right. Well, I don't know if you've seen recently. They did those studies where they hooked people up to like brain scanners while they were like tripping on acid. Yeah. And normally, when you do something, a certain part of your brain triggers.
A different part of your brain works.
But when you're on like a hallucinogenic, your entire brain is lit up. It's all triggered. So I think in the right environment, you could become smarter. You could fix certain illnesses. I think there's a whole vast of possibilities medically with hallucinogenics that we haven't touched upon. Sure.
Well, a lot of it too is because it's culturally taboo.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's culturally taboo. But that's why I'm a big fan of the Timothy Leary's, Hunter S. Thompson, guys that really openly said, I want to explore this region. Yeah. I want to go out there and see. That was part of, why I went there with the Blood Red Sky. Everybody in the paranormal field, everyone knows, like, the kind of final frontier is that chemical alteration, mind expansion, to see, can you connect to these spirits, in a different mind state at a location where spirit communication is known to be likely. Hopefully in the future it keeps going there with the more and more laws that are made to make this legalized, the less taboo things become. I mean, that's another reason why I just want things to be legalized as well, so it just doesn't become taboo. It's just like you want kids to stop like doing drugs. Don't make it the bad thing to do. That's what fucking drives teenage kids to do shit, right? That's a bad thing to do. I was a teenager. We all just, you want to do what your parents tell you not to do. If the shit becomes legal and it's just an activity and a potential consequence, make it that. And then, put the decision in the kids' hands, and like anything else, you'll have kids that make bad decisions and kids that make real decisions. But I can tell you right now, laws never stopped anybody from doing a drug.
Yeah.
To this day, they didn't stop nobody. If I wanted to do a drug, 5 minutes from now in this city, you know this, in this Los Angeles, it wouldn't be hard. Take a walk on Sunset. You know what I mean? Whatever you want, you're going to find, you know? So I would hope that it would be made legal. Anyways, wow, this went to a really weird drug area. I don't know why. Having said that, this episode is, or this podcast is going to be actually a follow-up, Justin, to the one that you did with me last time, which we discussed. Laura had brought it up to me that we can't assume that our audience knows who we are. And I totally agree with that. We certainly have an amazing fan base that has supported us endlessly. And, but we can't assume that every person in the world knows who we are. We know by far there's more people out there that don't know who we are than know who we are. So the goal with me was to ask me questions, I proposed to you that you would ask me questions, and the goal would be that through my answers, our audience would discover who I am as a person, in which we're going to flip the table now, and I'm going to ask you questions, which are rhetorical, which I believe I know the answers to, and through your answer, I believe the audience, our listeners right now, will come to learn who Mr. Holstein is. But I'm also interested, Steve, if you have any questions at any time about who Justin is, feel free to ask him. He is an interesting guy. I can say this. If you guys didn't listen to our podcast last week, please do. You would learn that when I first met Justin, I hated his fucking guts. And it's interesting now that that's the case because, you know, Justin is literally, I consider him a brother, definitely my best friend in the world. And, you know, he would be the first number that I would call if I ever needed somebody. And that's crazy because, again, there was a time where Justin was doing everything he could to get my brother to assault me.
It wasn't like a full. It's like a kind of like a love tap from where I come from, man. You know, everybody kind of cracked everybody. It wasn't that big of a deal. You know, it was just kind of a way of saying, hey, you know, I don't know.
Let's get into the questions. Yeah. I'm just ready to ask you a question. And there's a couple I'm going to ask that I don't know. I'm just interested to see what your answer would be. My first question would be, do you consider yourself an elitist?
You know, it's funny. I just thought of
see, he's already.
No, I put that on one of my. I don't know if it was my Twitter bio or something like this. Member of the world, something a world elite, and the New World Order and blah blah blah. Right? I just like. Sometimes I think people blow things out of proportion. Do I consider myself elitist? You know, here's the thing, Chad. We often talk about stuff that not everybody continues to climb the ladder, right? Some people
absolutely,
and
you mean in life in general,
right?
Correct?
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I guess.
And what you mean by that, to clarify, is that there are people in the world that set goals and keep setting them and keep setting them, and there are people that reach a certain place and go, good enough.
Right.
Okay.
So I think.
By the way, audience, this is a very slow, long-winded yes.
No, what I do is I listen to. It's not very often I run into people that really blow my mind away, just because. Often you can just kind of see, like the Matrix, what the person is, what they're going to talk about, and nothing surprising. And occasionally you want to walk up to those people and go, "Do you ever think about anything deep or interesting?" And ever, I don't mean to be offensive, but it just blows my mind that some people could be so simple in the way.
Did you ever see the Tom Cruise Scientology video? The leaked one that Anonymous went to war over.
Yeah.
And he was like, when I come upon an accident, it's, you know, automatically you're the only one that really knows what to do. And it's your obligation to help.
Yeah.
Because nobody else knows what to do. Did you understand his train of thought? Did you feel like you connected with it?
You know, at some level, yeah. I honestly, dude, it's like the other day, the Wells Fargo, you know, I had this check and they had it in the whole week. And at the end of the week, after spending money out of this account for the whole week, they just pulled it all out. And as I call in there, they're giving me the most ridiculous, asinine, status quo responses, and I go up 4 levels, and it takes I don't know how many hours through the course of the day. Yeah. And I finally get to one person, like one of the top managers and the 4th tier. Just the way she talked when she said hello, I could tell she was somebody who used the full capacity of her brain, or at least a decent portion, so that she could actually speak to me intelligently. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's so much elite, man. I think a lot of people were more elite back in the day. I think people have gotten kind of drained of intelligence. I don't know if it's banner ads and TV or what it is, man, but I think they've stopped learning and stopped caring to learn. And I don't know. I just find the world interesting. I find tons of things interesting. I mean, look at what we were doing earlier about how we're all looking at all these crazy various things, from the CIA files to this, to, I mean, we want to know.
Okay.
We want to know.
I got lost right there. We want to know what.
Are you an elitist, Justin? Or
yeah. Well, let's start over. So, are you an elitist, Justin? Do you think you're an elitist? Yes or no?
I think everybody should aspire to want to think they're an elitist. I think everybody should aspire to be more intelligent and more understanding of what's going on in the world. I think you go to look at some of the things our originally founding fathers wrote. I mean, you think, why doesn't anybody write like that anymore? Do they not have the capacity? Yeah. You know?
I'll tell you what's interesting. Well, I guess let me ask you this question, and because I literally thought about this yesterday. When you are in a debate, or when, like we were yesterday, and someone comes across with you and they disagree.
Yeah.
Is there any part of your mind at all that thinks possibly I got it wrong?
You should know.
I'm asking you.
Yes, I often actually I think I'm fairly good. And I got this, I think, from my dad. Just knowing that often you have to question yourself and know when you're wrong and admitting when you're wrong. It didn't seem that way with my mother, and I love her to death. But I don't know if it's like a woman thing, and that might sound sexist, but I always got the feeling like a lot of
sounds extremely sexist.
They don't want to admit that they're wrong in their relationship when they're wrong, and they will only admit they're wrong if you admit you're wrong first. Maybe that's just the women I've associated with. I don't know.
But no, I more so than any friend that I've ever had, I think. And listen, I think like all these things, it's weird because our faults are often your strengths and your weaknesses. The same thing about you, you know what I mean? That's a fault is often a weakness, is often a strength at the same time. Yeah, I think you have a really hard time fathoming another person could be, in any capacity, could be right if you have a way that you think in a certain way. But I will say this, once you're proven wrong, the one thing that's different than you, I think, for most people, is if you can... Once you're proven wrong, and it's stuffed in your face, there's people that'll keep going back in the wall and just still, you can be like, the sky is not blue. And you can show them the sky and they're like, well, I know that's off blue. That's not blue. I said off blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like the Sean Spicer, you know what I mean? An alternate set of facts. It's like, no, you're wrong. When you're proven wrong, you're usually really good about going, okay, I guess I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Okay, another question about you that I could ask. When you were younger, you used to, definitely kind of rally people, to do things like making films, right? We started making films early on, and you got people involved to do that. At what point did you feel like, I guess this is kind of a business question, because I guess, I'll tell you what I'm getting at, and you can tell me if you think I'm saying. In school, I think you, to some degree, were kind of viewed as like a smart kid, but not like a straight A student, bookwormy type of guy. You're just kind of a fuck off.
Yeah.
But you are very intelligent, and I used to see it in the same way like my friend Marty Manus. I would see it like outside of school. They would do the cool things. You know what I mean? And you used to organize us all to go have BB gun wars and stuff. And we would literally take 2-liter Cokes, chop the tops off, put holes in, and then rubber bands, and we would go out with CO2 pellet guns and have straight up wars. And many times we're talking pellets are ripping the flesh open, shot right into you.
Oh yeah, they continued until one of the guys, Ralph Ring, got shot in the face, got rushed to the emergency room, told that he was shot at the Holstein farm. The authorities showed up,
I know, right?
saying there was a shooting, and called various kids' parents.
Which, like, technically it's a shooting, but it's a fucking pellet gun, guys. Come on, you know? But I guess at what point did you kind of like realize the world saw you as a fuck up and you wanted to change that and wanted to create something and be viewed as a professional?
Well,
because some people never get to that point where they want to change it. What was it for you that changed it?
You know, so there were 5 kids in my family. Everybody was either straight A or right, almost being exactly straight A, right? I think Seth was Magnum Cum Laude or whatever, and so everybody had that, and I was like CD student and getting in fights, getting kicked out of school occasionally. And I don't know if my parents thought there's like one in every family type thing. Right. And I'm not saying they gave up on me. They just thought, you know, I think a part of it is I'm going to give this one space because I'm going to freak out if I stay on this one. Like
from what I knew of your parents, to me, it seemed like your mom knew she didn't have the will to beat you. You know what I mean? Like she's not going to overpower you. Your mom wasn't going to. I think your dad kind of felt like, you know, let him fuck up. At some point, he's going to fuck up bad enough that he'll learn. Yeah. So let him go fuck up. You know, your dad is a man that reminded me of. See, you never knew my dad before he got injured. I did, and he was similar to your dad in the sense that he wore a lot of frustration. You could see it on him. And your dad, to me, always was a man who had frustration. And I don't mean depression. Different fucking animal. Yeah. Had anger at the world. You know what I mean? Like frustration. Like your dad, to me, always appeared that way. So I always thought he looked at you like with frustration. Yeah, he thought, do your thing. When you fuck up, you know, bad enough, you'll figure it out. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's fair.
Yeah. Well, you have a little brother named Seth that I have always said he should see his little bro, Steve. He looks like Justin, I mean, to the T, but on steroids. You know how, like, dudes with steroids kind of get the big forehead, the brick jaw and shit? He looks like Justin, but he's a little more brick jaw, a little more thicker forehead. And he was physically, I mean, is a damn near mirror image of you. They both have these tight arms and they fucking run like Scooter and shit. Like it's really weird. And his little brother was such a good kid, just a good kid.
Who's Scooter, by the way?
Runs like Scooter. Oh, I was thinking, shit, no one knows that. Yeah, his name is Joe Brown. Remember Joe Brown? Remember Joe Brown?
Oh, man.
Yeah, we called him Scooter Brown.
Yeah.
And he ran like, yeah, sorry, audience. You don't know who Scooter Brown is. Well, you know, your brother was such a good guy, and because he was such a good guy, of course, I love to torment him and just like, you know, just get in his head and paint just really disturbing pictures and drive him fucking nuts. And I played football with him, and I ran track with him, and I thought your brother was an exceptional athlete. And there's a couple times I brought that up, and every time I have, you've been like, "Oh, I was fucking way faster than my brother. I was way faster than my brother. Not even close. Not even close. I fucking smoke him." And I'm like, "Wow, this fucking little bro, man." Like he's like, "Fucking Jesus Christ."
That's not a competitive thing. I mean, listen, Seth and I don't know. When you're brothers, it's like your dogs. It's an unspoken thing where you just always, I don't know, you do things you're not really cognizant of judging until you get older. You know what I mean? I think a lot of my brother Seth and my little sister Caroline, I think one Christmas they came at me and said, "You were really mean." Yeah. I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like when we were kids, like you were just really mean. And they were both mad. Like I was like.
Well, and trying to teach the world about you right now. The reason I'm asking this is I always thought it was kind of weird that when I would bring up your bro like that, like instead of like having believe it or not, Justin, a lot of guys would have pride, and even if they were faster, they would go, "Yeah, man, he's on fire, dude,
Yeah.
rock." You know what I mean? A lot of guys would just, and you were like, "Smoke him," you know. And there's like a competitiveness in you that I think is where part of your anger comes from at times, like because we would talk about football, and Justin to this day swears that had he been a running back for our high school football team, he just set every record in the world because nobody. He claims literally nobody could tackle him. Not that he'd be great or break. He claims nobody could tackle him. He was untackleable. He claimed.
That was a phrase. It was a method of. I just always noticed that.
No, you told me many times. No, they couldn't fucking tackle me. Is what you said.
Yeah, this is what happened. A lot of times, you know how in practice, when they're practicing, you're scrimmaging for the other team. They could not tackle me. I would run over them, spin off. They couldn't bring me down, even when and I'm thinking, is nobody noticing this? Can I not get a shot?
Remember, Justin weighed all of 135 pounds back then, and he was on a team with dudes that were 260, 240 linebackers, like state qualifying monsters, and he claims no one could tackle him.
No, they couldn't.
I don't believe you. But
I mean, during scrimmage too. I mean, if you're going all out and no one else is like, putting their 100% in.
Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it.
But they would though. Like, I mean,
Yeah, because it was getting to the point where there was in one the individuals or some. You know how sometimes players are very
he's saying
favored.
straight on scrimmage though when they're getting after it.
Well, I'm
He's
just
saying no
trying
one
to get
could.
at no one else is trying.
Right, I know.
I'm going to tell you another story, and this is kind of a story that has a question at the end of it, but it sums up Justin a little bit too. And Justin's going to know right away the story I'm going to tell. So my best friend at that time was a kid named Travis Custer, admittedly a mouthy kid. We always played tag football like together, and Justin always organized it. And it's been a long-standing joke. I always give joke about this situation I'm fixing to describe with Justin. And basically, my buddy Travis, to this day, in my opinion, is probably the toughest kid I've ever met, like mentally. Like, he's just a fucking Marine, refuses to kind of back down. Just, he doesn't have a quit. Doesn't have that, thing in him that stops. Well, he was a wide receiver for our team, and Justin was a defensive back and a wide receiver as well. And I would be the all-time quarterback because I played quarterback, believe it or not, as big as I am now. So Justin and Travis are jawing back and forth, right? And we're going down the field, and Travis would score, and he would just give Justin all kinds of shit and talk shit, and Justin would score, and he'd fucking tell him shut the fuck up and all that stuff. And Travis wouldn't stop, and Travis was just like, I'm just gonna keep giving him shit until I drive him fucking crazy. And that was his
Chad
goal.
was egging him on the whole time. This was like a motivation. Chad can get people's brains and start pressing their buttons to direct them in a direction, right? So nobody could touch Chad because of the situation with his mother and everything there. But now he's egging on this buddy of his to talk shit for him, like to us. And I'm thinking, you know what? He gets the pass. You don't get the pass.
But hold
dude.
on. Now, keep in mind, Justin's a senior, and my buddy's like in 8th grade going into his freshman year. So we're talking like a kid and almost a man. Okay? He's talking so much shit the whole time. I'm thinking he's just going to piss Justin off and he'll quit or whatever. Justin more or less beats him up. He's a kid. And Justin beats him up.
It's not like I beat him up. I just shoved him down. I said, "You want to keep talking?" Shoved him down again. You keep talking?
Yeah, he's just beating on a kid. And
I didn't beat him. I shoved him down.
And I would say anybody who saw it would say first degree assault. That's what they would say. That's assault. But again, my point that I'm getting at is Justin has always had a trigger where he makes really bad decisions. He gets angry to a point, and then he just makes really fucking bad decisions. And on that day, he got angry to a point, and the kid that was much younger than him, that was legitimately a kid next to him, he ended up basically throwing this kid around. And since then, I've always given him shit about how the day that my buddy owned him, you know what I mean? Yeah, which he doesn't agree with, actually. Well, that's cool. Look, I mean, I think it's like anything else, dude. I have 30 more questions that I could ask you. But I guess the point I was, trying to get across to people, when they say, who is Justin? I would say to people, Justin's a serious dude that has gotten to a place in life where he's serious. He didn't start out that way. Justin is a loyal guy. Justin's a fighter. Justin is a guy that can let his emotions get to him at times. And but Justin's also a guy that in the end, he's going to have your back when others wouldn't.
See, I thought the whole thing we were talking about with that whole fighting thing, we were building towards that index case show,
I am going to tell that story, but I wanted to tell that story with Joey. I want to get Joey on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So that's
right.
Because I want both sides of what's going on.
Yeah.
So I just teased something, and I'll go tease it more. And I mean this when I say it. The single greatest rock and roll story ever fucking told. I can tell it, and the story involves Justin Holstein and Joe Ansley. And I am telling you, I will put this rock and roll story up against I Am a Golden God. I will put it up against any Billy. I don't care. I heard Phil Anselmo, died and came back to life. This story is better and more intense than anything ever. And we will tell this story when we get Joey on the podcast. But it was another situation where Justin saw injustice, and I fully backed him. And to be truthful, I'm the first person to say I'm not a fighter in any capacity. You know that. I hate violence. I am a lover all day long. I mean, I don't like, and one of the major reasons I don't like to fight is I'm scared of what I'll do. Like, it takes so much to get me to that spot that when I do lose it, it is a truly lose it. Like, I don't have control of the thoughts, and that terrifies me, and I will do anything to avoid that. But I backed Justin so much on what he did in the story that I was literally preparing to hit this person, and Justin came in like a flash. I mean, you guys hear what happened, it will blow your mind. So there's a little bait for the future when we get Jolt and Joe Ansley on the show, which I want to get him on the show sometime in the next month or so. But yeah, that was the point I was just trying to get at, is that Justin is a really, really loyal guy. He's an emotional guy. He's made some bad decisions based off anger and based off split-second thought rather than kind of long rational thought. I didn't ask a question that demonstrated this, but the other thing you are is you are detail-oriented, which is weird because as a younger guy, you were more kind of a little bit more aloof than you are as an adult. But Justin is definitely someone who looks at, I look at a big picture. I want to accomplish this. Justin looks at that big picture and says, well, in order to accomplish this, you got to have this, you know what I mean? And that's always been, I think, a key dynamic to the way we work is, I'm really, really bad at that stuff, and I know what you're really good at as well. But if you guys, and I said this earlier, if you guys enjoy this stuff, we've only scratched the tip of the iceberg with these stories and kind of who we are. And I'm perfectly fine to tell people more about my past. And I'm sure you're perfectly fine to tell people more about yours. Should they have more questions about who we are. We're literally doing this because, as my wife pointed out, as I said earlier, there's no way everybody out there in the world knows who we are. We're presenting a very opinionated show where we talk about all kinds of things in the world. I think it's only fair that people should know who the personalities are that are presenting this show to you and these ideas, this subject matter, these topics. So this was just to let you guys know who we are. And Justin did one on a podcast on me last week. I just did this, and we are going to come back next week and do a third one on Steve. Tinder Zoberman, which I'm interested in. The reason I'm very interested, Steve, is don't you feel like you learn something new about Steve about every other day? Every other day, Steve just drops a little fucking history nugget about himself, something he did, somewhere he was. That's like a huge thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, you didn't tell me this? Oh, no, what would I, man? What would I? You know? So.
Yeah, most people don't think like Steve. You just pick up, regardless of where you are financially, and just go to Colombia, go to the Ukraine, go to Israel, go to Poland. It's boom, 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 boom.
Dude, have laptop will travel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed that. Do you remember? I laughed so hard when you guys left. It was so funny. We were in Australia, and you walked out to essentially say to Steve, "Do you want to go jogging?" And Steve is like kind of looking up at you, and you go, "So, I mean, did you like bring like jogging shoes?" And Steve is like, "Did I bring you jogging shoes?" No. And he goes,
"What? No.
What the fuck?" He's like, "That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard." No. What the fuck? It was so funny, man. When you guys left, I must have thought that, replayed that movie in my head like 20 times. I was dying laughing of him going, "No. What the fuck?" So it's I'm interested to personally learn more about Steve, but I think our audience will obviously want to learn a lot about you, my friend.
It'll
so
be good.
I'm gonna dig into your life. It'll
be good.
It'll be a lot of fun. With that, guys, we have reached our first commercial break.
Paramerican Radio will be right back after this commercial break with even more dope ass shit.
In a distant land where magic is as real as the rainbow, in a place where nature exceeds imagination, a paranormal investigative team led by a man named Craig Powell has captured something on film, something that will change the world. I have seen Sir No Face, and soon you will too.
Director of Sir No Face. In the next few weeks, we'll be announcing 2 brand new screening events for Sir No Face. To find out what cities we'll be coming to, visit aghtelevision.com and check out our live events and touring page. Thanks so much for your support, and we'll see you soon.
And we are back. Let's talk about what's been going on in the world in regard to the bizarre, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Huge news in the UFO community. On January 20th, the CIA finally released 12 million pages, 930,000 documents that were previously classified that delve into multiple topics, but UFOs notably, in which, it's interesting. What do you guys think about this? Basically, there was a representative from the CIA that stated, for all of the work that we've done, there were just under 100 cases that we couldn't, solve. Like, it's no big deal. And I'm thinking in my head, if there was 100 UFO claims that with all the resources of our government could not resolve, isn't it kind of case closed? Doesn't that kind of like prove that this is happening? You know what I mean? Because if there were UFOs out there, clearly their attempt is to not be seen, right, by the public, or else they'd be out there. So that means on 100 occasions they messed up and they were identified by people. Damn, that's a big number. I thought that was a big number. I thought it was a weird approach to kind of like talk it down to go, look, it's only been less than 100. Don't you think that's pretty? What do you guys think?
Well, it was interesting. Well, first of all, those documents, they got released online because they were available, but they only were available at one location. And I'm trying to think where it was. somewhere in Maryland, I believe.
So you'd have to physically go through.
Right. You could go there if you want to go through them.
Right.
But they, for whatever reason, and it is kind of suspicious with all this conflict between Trump coming in within the secrets, whether it be the FBI, the CIA,
right,
that now is the time they're choosing to say, you know what, let's throw it all out there. And I don't think they're actually throwing it all out there personally. And not only that, these things are compartmentalized. Even within the CIA itself, when they're doing certain operations, there is going to be situations where various people in the CIA don't know what's going on with other people in the CIA.
I also just read that Russia, about the same time period, released, one of the, it was like either their prime minister or some member of their government basically said the same thing, that there are a lot of cases out there that are unexplained, and they could acknowledge that now. And it is kind of weird as to why would Russia be talking about this? Why are we talking about this right now? And last year, there were a couple governments that released their UFO files. It's like, is this all starting to happen because something's coming? Think about it. Obama also just signed, before he left, he signed a new, basically was a plan to colonize Mars by 2030. And to me, I was just like, whoa, that's close. It's 2017 right now. So the intent is to have an actual human colony living on Mars. 13 years from now? That's it? That's crazy. You know what I mean? So do we... and then also you look at... You saw The Arrival. Okay, now this is going to be the film that you're going to review here in a bit, so I don't want to give too much away from it. But what I will say about The Arrival, very different kind of UFO film. Very, very different. It really had a lot to do with, communication and the way time kind of like works in the world. It's just a very, very a new way of looking at this.
It's like Interstellar almost in a way.
Yeah, it seemed feasible. And I'll have you get into it, but it's just interesting that film did so well, was pushed so hard by the studios, is nominated for the Academy Award as well. And then again, there's all this crazy UFO talk going on right now, and it's even weirder. Remember Podesta? John Podesta is a massive, did you know, Steve? He's a massive UFO supporter, massive UFO buff. He's been trying to get the UFO files unlocked for a long time. He was publicly tweeting at the end of his last term that his greatest regret was that he again failed in making disclosure happen and getting all the documents opened. Edgar Mitchell, the former astronaut who's now passed away, correct? I think he passed away, right?
Yeah.
Edgar Mitchell passed away. In the WikiLeaks dump that Julian Assange was doing, he released emails between Edgar Mitchell and John Podesta talking about their upcoming meeting where they'll be discussing 0-point energy and the galactic treaty to keep peace on Earth, and that if we were to be given this technology at a time frame that was predetermined, then we had to hold true to this galactic treaty. And they're having these discussions like normal shit. And it's not like this was done for the public's sake. It wasn't. This was behind closed doors. So who is he sending it to and for what? You know what I mean? Do we think something's going on right now? What do we think?
What I would like to, first of all, this is what's getting complicated with the whole fake news thing. And I'm not saying that's fake news. I'm just saying that how do you differentiate anymore? I mean, the reality is they can hack emails. They can show emails. They could put in fake emails.
Here's my thing.
Who's involved with it, and listen, if they're not claiming responsibility for writing any of this stuff, then I'm interested. It's not that I'm not interested in it, but you can't assume that everything.
I have a more interesting question for you, Justin.
Yeah.
Amongst the mainstream news organizations, who the fuck can you believe? You know what I mean? I don't differentiate. I really don't. Like, InfoWars to me is no more fucking bizarre than CNN. Or Fox, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are all pushing their own fucking agenda. And absolutely, lies are part of the game. It's just part of the game. I don't like those facts. Don't say them. You know what I mean? It's like Obama had 1.8 million, people that came to his inauguration. Donald Trump only had 0.8 thousand. Say he had more. But he didn't. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they're doing. They're walking out going, whoever said he, Sean Spicer, his first day on the job, whoever said he didn't, look, it was obviously the most watched inauguration ever. And the next day they're like, yeah, we checked it out. That's wrong. So, so I just don't differentiate between the two. My whole thing is this. Get off your ass, go out there and find the truth yourself. Like, if you really want to know what's going on, it is out there. I mean, one of the projects that I've made, of our own projects that we've made, that taught me the most about kind of finding the truth was Truther, our documentary Truther, which is on 9/11. And what I did is I pieced together and recreated that day, only using footage from victims, first responders of fire and rescue, and then first responders of media. That was it. I literally spent, a year collecting all that footage and just sat down and started and said, let's see what actually happened that day. Wow, was that a different picture, So I think the truth is out there. You just have to go find it. People don't understand how television works. And I learned this a long time ago. Do you know, Steve, do you know how cable TV works? Do you know how? I'm just wondering. Tell me if you know how. Like, how does a ghost hunting show? How does it work? Where does the money come from? How does it make money?
Well, so it comes from all the way on top, right? It has to get approved by so and so, and it keeps.
But how does it continue? How does it generate revenue?
From advertisement.
So what?
Well, wait. Cable TV though doesn't, because
yes, it does. Same thing. They're selling commercials. That's the point I'm getting to. They're selling commercials. So for those of you that don't know, I mean, literally every television show that you watch, its sole purpose from the company's standpoint is to just get as many people as possible to watch that station, because then the ad time becomes valuable. More eyes, greater value. You can sell those commercials for more money when the ratings go up.
TV's changing as far as its definition. Netflix is a little different.
Of course, there's different platforms. I'm talking about terrestrial television. I'm talking about like cable television in the sense of like Annie, you know what I mean? Or like Discovery Channel, ABC, NBC, primetime, right? I'm not talking about,
how about Showtime,
I'm not talking about pay
HBO?
cable, not pay cable, right? Pay cable,
right.
they're
That's
already getting money from the subscriptions, right? So in the Netflix is essentially pay cable, right? You pay a monthly Netflix. I'm talking about terrestrial television, which is the news stations exist on, right? Vice kind of broke that mold and went, pay cable route, but now they're moving back in and have completely moved back into the terrestrial, zone. So how it works, the reason why people want more eyes and more viewers is because the more viewers, the more money you can sell your ad time for. If I'm Clorox and I'm looking to advertise, and I go, hey guys, I have 3 commercials in my half-hour show, or right now I'm getting 2.5 million viewers average every episode, so there's a set amount of money for those 2.5 million. If I could push that up to 3.2 next week, I can get 30% more money on that advertising. You know what I mean? So the networks will do anything in their power, any fucking thing in their power to get more eyes on the show, including just fucking lie. Yeah. Just make shit up because it gets eyes.
And a lot of news stations.
And to be first, that's a big thing.
A lot of news stations probably do it, but Fox did this forever. If you watched Fox, they got to the point where it was almost like they stuck in their infrastructure to say whatever, and then the next day they would do retractions just written after newscasts, because nobody's going to read that. It's not like people are pausing their station and going, "Let me read that fine print that's going up the screen,"
In other, I guess still related to that story, what was really cool is in addition to the UFO information, there were a lot of documents that delved into the CIA's interest in psychokinetic ability, mind over matter, the ability for... we made a film called A Blood Red Sky, in which my first trailer to it talks about the fact that, or there's an interview where I'm talking about the fact that as a child I had an unhealthy infatuation with this belief and desire that I can move a pencil with my mind. And I still do it to this day. When I see a slanted, anything that's slanted, I have this burning urge to grab, this pin right here and put it up. And when I let it go, like I got, even thinking about it right now, I feel like I can do it. I feel like I can make the pencil move. And that sounds fucking crazy, I know. But as a kid, that's a true story. I mean, I drove my teacher nuts. I mean, she finally sat down and said to me, like, listen, I need you to stop with the pencil. You're driving me fucking crazy with this. What are you doing? And I was like, well, I think I can make it move, and she's like, huh? I'm like, I think I can make the pencil move. I remember the teacher's looking at me going, well, you can't. And I remember thinking in my head, as I said in the film, then why does it feel like I can? You know what I mean? It feels like I can. So why is that? Well, as it turns out, the CIA concluded, yes, people do have crazy abilities to do things, specifically in the realm of psychokinetic ability. They concluded that people do have the ability to make objects move, apportation, appear and reappear. Anna Kula, I can never say her name, Kula Ningaga. I'll put her name in the quotes below. For years, the KGB worked with her, and she was one of the first people that the KGB said, yes, we believe that this is real. So now we have the CIA, Justin, and the KGB, both agreeing independently that human beings do in fact have psychokinetic ability that is in fact real.
I don't know if you've always noticed this. If we can see something, if we can conceive it, eventually we can do it. We're not thinking linear anymore. Everything went digital now. There's no more linear editing. There's no more... we're starting to think multiple directions. Now people watch the TV with their cell phone in their hand.
We were talking to Corey about it. Corey Moss was saying, it was weird how people hardly ever use the television screen for that purpose whatsoever, that almost everything has become a tablet or a phone, and they never thought it would be coming, especially because the phone's so small, right? So you think, well, we always wanted bigger back in the day, right? Bigger. Yeah. And there's a fundamental, just different change. What we want is not bigger, we want private and fast. You know what I mean? What's cool about the phone thing is it's mine and it's right here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's mine.
Right. It's mine. Right. Ownership. And it's fast. Right. So all of it is, and the whole thing, Justin, about how we live in a matrix. That's such a big idea, and I don't want to go down that road, but if that were possible, and the whole world is in fact, for conversation's sake, one big binary code, right? Then what that ultimately means is that we're all connected, right? We are all connected, and not just connected like loosely, fundamentally, base connected. So if that's the case, and we are in fact, all connected, where do you see this going? So like the CIA comes out and says, UFOs are here, and disclosure happens, and we're all connected as a race. Like, where do you see all this going in regard to other species, other races? Well, we still feel like, we're different, we're so removed from this species, whatever this could be, right? That's landing. I'm so removed from this species that I view them as a threat, or do you think part of this information coming out and this, we're all connected is kind of like a massaging for, remember the Reagan, the famous Reagan quote where he said, I'd like to think how we would all react if one species, right, if the world was under attack from UFOs, we would all come together as mankind.
Yeah.
Maybe this whole way of thinking of we're all connected is a massaging for what's to come, right? That's what I'm trying to get to, because that's what I always think of when I hear about this, we live in a matrix. Well, then we're all connected, and that I think is I think that's the bigger idea that it's pushing. Well, we're all connected.
I think a lot of it too is just the idea they always talk about these alien species. If they were going to come down, or they're going to attack us, etc. And you think, okay,
well, if the Matrix thing is right, don't fear them. We're all connected.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Like that's where I think they're trying to go with it.
But you don't need to live in a matrix to be all connected. We are all connected. Like all.
No, physically, right? Literally.
Yeah, literally. Like
Right.
all atoms are empty
Right.
air, and the only reason they move is through vibration and energy.
Right.
So if you think about it, you are touching whatever's on the other side of the planet, whatever's on the other side of the universe.
Yeah.
And the further we go on as a species, the further we're going to tap into it. I think that's what makes possible, like the law of attraction, where you perceive something, you make it happen. I think that's what makes it possible. When you like watch Star Trek and they show like these video phones, and later on that's what becomes reality. It's because when you perceive something,
Right.
when you put it out,
Yeah.
that thought is an energy. It doesn't.
Yes.
You can't see it physically, but it's there.
Right. Well, we talked this before. Like consciousness, just by looking at something, your attention on that something physically it makes it change.
Yeah.
But back to this, the reason I think, because they would say, well, why now? Why would the CIA do this right now? Why are these conversations going on about Elon Musk? Is his name? Elon.
Musk?
Musk. The world, is the Matrix and all that stuff. And why would they, why now would the CIA do this? And why now would the CIA say, yeah, UFOs are real, yeah, psychokinetic ability is real? Because when they arrive, we want to be able to say, oh, yeah, we knew. We've known for years. We're prepared. That would be a reason to dump this now.
Yeah, you think about it. I mean, that's just kind of a way human beings have always had to be strung along. I mean, you can't just throw advanced algebra at
Right.
a child. You got to teach them the
Right.
basics, move to this step, algebra 1, algebra 2, and then you can start getting in maybe physics and other complex
Right.
things. To use this as an analogy, how the gay bashing everything back in the day, when we were kids, it was not cool to be gay. But then all these shows came out, and they get more accustomed to that being
Wasn't there a big,
No?
gay moment on Roseanne? Wasn't her daughter gay or something, Roseanne?
Probably.
Yeah, there was a big thing. But a lot of shows did that, you know what I mean? And then you had, really expansive in shows like 6 Feet Under. You know what I mean? Where there's not just a gay character, but like the lead, the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, that precursors, that's out there, right? And what comes next? Now the laws start to change. You know what I mean? You're right. It's all done really well, and it's done planned very intelligently. So when I look at things like, here's 900,000 new documents about UFOs, and our government saying, we know that they exist. And I look at documents saying, okay, we know psychokinetic ability is real. So that way our government can say, we've known for a long time. To me, it's like, that's because when the little gray dudes show up here in the next 13 years that could look at that glass and move it, our government's going to go, oh yeah, we know. We gave you the documents about it. You're good.
I don't think that's
You know
why
what
they
I mean?
released it now. I think they released it at the exact time that they did is because everyone's distracted with everything else.
It's called a soft release, meaning you don't want to crowd everyone together and make a big deal out of it, right? But like what you're saying, if you soft release it and put it out there, it slowly gets to where it's going in a non-threatening fashion. Right. It's not like a bullhorn. You know what I mean? Right. It's just rolling slowly and no one's panicking.
So instead of hearing about Fox News on 24/7 or CNN, you're hearing on Paramerican radio about it.
That's true, but that's why. Yeah, that's totally why. Which, it is brilliant. So, does this mean, disclosure is finally happening? I think when you talk about disclosure, I think a lot of people think that disclosure is going to be, Trump walks out one day and goes, guys, I got it. They're real. Click. Here's the evidence. Fucking they're real. And we all go, whoa, disclosure. No. Disclosure is going to be a very long, thought out, you know what I mean? Like a plan, right? To make this happen. But
I'm just thinking he drops the mic. Disclosure.
That made it so funny. They're real. Yeah. Mic drop. No, it's going to be a long plan. But having said that, God, that was a good conversation, guys. Very, very cool. Interesting to watch in the future. future to see where this thing goes. But, having said that, guys, it is time for another commercial break, and we will be right back with movie reviews, which Justin's going to talk about The Arrival, and I actually have a movie review that is going to blow your mind, and I can't wait to tell you about this film, and then we're going to get to some fan questions. We'll be right back with more Paramerican Radio.
Paramerican Radio will be right back after this commercial break with even more dope-ass shit.
In 1984, a Siberian geological group of scientists began drilling a well into the grounds of Russia's Kola Peninsula. After digging nearly 9 miles deep, the drill bit began to spin wildly out of control, as though it had entered a hollow region in the Earth's crust. After retrieving the bit, scientists lowered a temperature gauge and an audio recorder into the bottom of the well. Although the estimated temperature of gases in the ground at 9 miles were thought to be 120 degrees, scientists were shocked that the gauge returned a reading in excess of 2,000 degrees. But nothing could have prepared them, for the sounds returned by the audio recorder. A Stairway to Hell.
Chad Kalich's Stairway to Hell documentary, along with 15 additional Kalich documentaries, are all available on DVD right now at aghtelevision.com.
And we're back, everybody. Welcome back to Paramerican Radio. And it is time for movie reviews, and rightfully so after that awesome conversation we just had about disclosure being a pending movement that is coming, or a possible movement that is coming. Justin, The Arrival. What's her name? Amy
Adams.
Amy Adams. I have seen this film. You have seen this film. This film is nominated for the Academy Award, in which Justin told me he wanted to review this film, which knock it out of the park, man. Let me hear your thoughts on Arrival.
You know, it's funny. The day before, I think it was the day before I went and saw this, I was sitting in Omaha talking to my little sister, Caroline, and we were talking about this idea of language.
Right.
You know how language plays a very significant role in this. And she had been reading this study that, when we're children, we talked about this. You took her Gracie around the world, and she saw the stuff, but will she remember it?
Right.
Well, here's the odd part of what Caroline said that just clicked in my brain, that she had heard some late scientists or whatever talking about the idea that until you learn a language, you have no definition of that object to remember.
Right.
So your ability to remember or linearly catalog what's going on in the world and talk about it starts with the language you're going to learn. You were saying the idea that, because your first language was what?
When I first came to the States, I only knew Russian, and I didn't learn English for a while, and I could, not very vividly, but I can somewhat remember that even the way I used to think would be you would think in that other language, and
right,
and it's Russian is so vastly different than English, and just now I don't think that way. I don't think in that Russian type way. So like when I went to Ukraine recently, I didn't necessarily connect with people the same way I would have if I would have thought in Russian.
Right. So it basically just capitalizes on the idea of like Noam Chomsky. He's a linguist, and I always thought, a linguist professor. Why is he the specialist on all these things in the world, on knowing all this stuff? But he's a linguist professor.
If I'm listening to this movie review right now, I'm waiting to get to the review part.
Okay.
Okay. Fuck. Tell me about the movie, Justin.
Oh, okay. But I guess we could show this any way possible. But if I don't set up that part, then
set up. Language is important.
Okay. So, The movie. It was a good movie. Loved it. Great movie.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, we're like 7 minutes into it, talking about Noam Chomsky. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything about the movie yet.
Well, okay. Well, I should say like this then. I should start off and preface what the movie was about.
Yeah, just tell me what's the movie about?
Okay. So
What happens? What happens in the first 5 minutes?
So for anybody who hasn't seen Arrival, it's basically this big object that comes out of the sky, lands. Amy Adams is this linguist professor. They bring her along with other people that are either in the Army, the CIA, to kind of deal with this. They don't know if it's going to be hostile or not. They go in there, and they're these really strange beings, and they're trying to figure out what are these strange beings doing here? What are they trying to communicate with us? They don't obviously speak English or Italian or anything else. So Amy Adams is basically trying to figure out the patterns. They do these odd patterns that they can almost through their brain make appear.
How do they communicate?
Right.
Basically, yeah. What are they talking about? Are they talking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought one thing that was kind of cool, if you remember, is we have a connection between time and the way we speak. Like we have a past tense, a forward tense, you know what I mean? And this didn't. There was no connection, but also between their sounds and the words.
Right.
It was a totally different, unique way of communicating. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go on.
Because we are linear beings, you know,
Right.
we think that way. We think, well, I'm born, I'm
Start,
going to
stop,
die.
finish. Right. Exactly. Right.
So she basically, you know, they're so entrenched in this. Her and her other the other co-star of this, which I can't think of his name. He was in all those other movies.
Jeremy Renner?
Jeremy Renner.
Renner.
Yeah.
Renner. Yeah.
Jeremy Renner.
He's the guy in the town.
Huh?
He's the guy in the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at me. Look at my
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
I
Probably
fucking did
probably
this
one of
to
his
you.
best parts, I think, that movie anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're so entrenched with this that they actually start dreaming. And she's saying, are you dreaming in this language now? Mm-hmm. And she's able to understand eventually. I shouldn't give it away, should I?
Well, don't give away the ending, but I think you've led on to the fact that this is a different type of UFO movie, which is what I enjoy. I don't mean to take it, but it's what I enjoyed about it is that this isn't like Independence Day.
Right.
This was
Well, the second
probably
Independence Day
closer.
was similar to what?
Well, this is probably closer to what could happen. You know, for real.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what I enjoyed about it. Is it felt like it could be real.
Well, you just start focusing then on the importance of language. That without those words, you know, again, when you're born and you about 4 or 5 years old, you start remembering things because eventually you learn camera. You know, so now you have a memory of that because you were able to say it and put a definition to it.
Yep.
But without those definitions, they were just random colors and things happening, right?
Right.
So it's kind of fascinating to think that language could play that important of a role in how we can conceptualize the world around us. I mean, they came to teach us a universal language, right?
And the film definitely has a lesson. It has a lesson that is trying to push to mankind, which we don't want to give that away.
Right.
Out of 5 stars, what do you give it? How many stars?
Those type of movies, I give 5 stars, man. I love it.
So you think it's worth the Academy Award that it's nominated for?
Absolutely, yeah.
I agree. I think it definitely should be an Academy Award, nominated film. Did you see it?
No, actually.
It's dope, dude. Go see it. It's really dope. It is.
It's funny because I always watch movies like that. I watch every kind of movie, and that's like the one movie that I just haven't seen for whatever reason. Probably because they don't have it on airplanes.
No, I feel you. For a long time, for almost 3 years. It's funny to say. When I was on Paranormal State, almost for 3 years, all the movies I watched were always on airplanes. Yeah. I would specifically not go see them at the theater or not watch them on cable because I knew I was going to have that fucking fights in New York or in Newark. You know what I mean? So, well, cool. Well, thanks, Justin. I didn't mean to push you along there, but I'm telling you, this thing was heading into a fucking dark hole. I could just see it, man. At 5 minutes, if I've yet to hear anything about the movie that we're reviewing, we got to change our approach. So, but I think you nailed it once you started talking about it. So check it out, out, guys, for sure. I have a movie review that I fucking urge all of you guys to see. It is called Gringo, The Dangerous Life of John McAfee. Now, this was a Showtime doc. Showtime actually bought it. It was an independent documentary and picked up at Showtime, bought it. And has anybody seen this?
No.
Okay. John McAfee is, McAfee software, the McAfee antivirus.
I'm familiar with.
He's the creator of this, right? So obviously bajillionaire, right? And but what's interesting about him is at a very young age, he sold his patent and his company pretty early, and held on to a piece of the profits, which have made him, like I said, a bajillionaire. So this guy essentially moves to the actual country slips my mind right now. I believe it's somewhere like down by like Nicaragua.
Is it
Bolivia?
No, it's not Nicaragua. Bolivia. No, Belize. He moves to Belize, okay? And he's a very eccentric guy. He moves there. He's kind of like a man amongst the people. He wants to show his money. He buys property right away, starts building this ridiculous house. He's into big cars and fancy cars. He's into guns. So he starts slowly, because he's wealthy. He hears these stories that he's going to be robbed by certain guys. So he invites these local kind of gangsters that are supposedly going to rob him. He invites them to lunch and says, hey, I tell you what, don't rob me. Be my security. I'll pay you great. You know what I mean? Make sure I'm safe. So he essentially turns the most feared gang in town, becomes his personal security team. Where it's like, Jesus, that's fucking smart as shit. Good for him. You know what I mean? So at the same time, when he moves there, he meets this young girl who is essentially a botanist, and she's trying to find cures for diseases and all that stuff like that. And he runs into her, and he obviously just has it for her, right? He's into her, and the next thing you know, he hires her, and he's like, oh yeah, we're trying to cure this disease and cure that disease, and at the same time, he's like basically telling her that, we've got to have it to this point and to this point and to this point. And I'm doing a story like with the New York Times about how we're this close to curing cancer and shit like this. And this girl's just like, the fuck are we talking about? No, we're not. We haven't done anything but talk about doing it. So like the day before this story is going to happen about how they're like this close to having this amazing cure for cancer, he basically walks out and he grabs like a flask and he puts like a bottle of water and he starts like dipping blue in it and all this stuff and basically handing it to her going, here, like when they come in, start acting like, basically act like a chemist. And when he's like, can you make it smoke? So he's like, this girl realizes right away, like, this dude is a crazy rich con man. Like, what is going on? So this girl's giving testimony the whole time, basically because she was just inside the circle, you know what I mean? So she saw, and they're asking like, what was going on? She's like, God, the people that he would meet with were terrifying. I mean, they would show up with fucking machine guns and machetes, and they would talk about making bodies disappear and like all this shit. So here is the drop dead part of the movie, guys, that I just went, whoa. You know that part in, you guys seen Election?
Yes.
Election.
Yeah, with Matthew Broderick.
Reese Witherspoon. Okay, you've seen it. Mm-hmm. There's one moment in Election where the movie just changes and you go, whoa. And the Election is this kind of like normal story about this guy, this teacher that's just going about his day until right you hear the Novotny guy go, click, her pussy gets so wet, right? About his student. And at that moment forward, it's like, whoa, this is a different movie. Same thing happens in Gringo. You're watching a documentary about a guy that's eccentric as can be, and then they finally start talking about the fact that he has young girlfriends, okay? And they're interviewing him. He has 7 young girlfriends that work with him, and he's like, and he's in his interviews going, look, I make no mistake about it that I have many girlfriends, and they are all good to each other, and they're good to me, and I'll have you know they are all legal. They are all 18 or older. We are not, breaking the law, but understand that I lead a different life, and I'm proud of that life. And they cut to like his 2nd, 3rd, 4th girlfriend. They're talking about his girlfriends, and they're going, oh yeah, and they speak kind of broken language and like, oh no, John is the best to me. He pays most attention to me. And the next one's going, no, John is the best to me. He pays, and they all saying, and they're like, okay, well, what is your relationship like? I mean, do you have a sexual relationship too, or just friends? I mean, I assume you do. I'm like, yes, but not. They'll say yes, and then one goes yes, but no intercourse. And the director, which is a girl, is kind of like, no intercourse. Well, how do you have sex? And she goes, oh, he likes something I don't like to do it. It's a skit sex. And she's like, skit sex? What's skit sex? And she's like, oh, it's he takes, and all the girls are describing it. They're cutting back and forth. She's like, he takes a hammock. It's a hammock. And he's like, hangs the hammock, and I get naked, and there's a hole cut around my butt. And they're all saying it, and he goes, okay. And he goes, and then I shit in his mouth.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa, what? And they cut to the next girl, and she's like, yes, I don't like it. And I poop in his mouth, and he makes me do it all the time. And each girl keeps talking, and the filmmaker is going, hold on.
What?
You poop, like you defecate, and the girls are going, yeah. I shit in his mouth. And one girl's like, oh yeah, I fill it up and all this stuff. Oh my, these girls are all on record that this guy's into fucking scat fetish shit. He's into crap. Wow. I was just like, what? What am I watching? So long story short, basically this guy has a neighbor who just doesn't like his lifestyle. He starts running drugs like crazy through Belize, right? He starts working with the gangs, financing them, tripling his fucking money down there. His neighbor knows it, doesn't like him, and his neighbor has doesn't like his dogs. Has these crazy dogs that are loud as shit, right? So the neighbor pretty much just says, dude, stop with your dogs, they're killing me. And the neighbor poisons the dogs, and the dogs die, which breaks John's heart. The next day, they find this guy in his house, this dude. They find him in his house, naked, all of his testicles and his legs, and also his throat and his mouth. They had hit him over and over again with a taser. Tased his tongue, his cheeks, and his balls until they killed him.
I have heard about this, actually.
Yeah, and so everybody knows he did it.
Yeah.
But he's got the police on the payroll, so it just gets dismissed. Well, this filmmaker is the one that's like, fuck you, you piece of shit, So she's the one kind of like, building the story. She gets the government involved there, and the government's basically trying to come down on him as fast as they can to get him. And he's got a lawyer, and he's got to get the fuck out of Dodge because they revoked his passport, which he finds a way to smuggle himself to the U.S., where not only does he land in the U.S., he says, awesome, I'm going to get my old life back. And you want to know what he does for a living in the U.S.? What was the independent party candidate that ran? What was his name? This year, the big one at the end. Him and the guy that couldn't say Aleppo, didn't know what Aleppo was. Doug Johnson?
Yeah. Something Johnson. Gary
Johnson.
Yeah.
So he was the winner of that. What's his party?
Libertarian.
Yeah. You want to know who the second runner-up was?
This guy, huh?
McAfee.
Wow.
This year. While this is all going on. So that'll tell you about politics, my friends. If you're out there, guys, please watch the Gringo, The Dangerous Life of John McAfee. A truly mindfuck of a documentary. And to the filmmaker who made it, good on you. He's going after her hardcore. He's threatening her life throughout the whole film. So I thought it was really cool that Showtime picked it up, and she's going after it. So
she's very ballsy, man. That's
very ballsy, because that's got a lot of cash and time, and he's already demonstrated he'll kill, like no problem. He'll hire people to kill. So pretty crazy. Having said that, guys, let's get to fan questions. We only have 3 today that I grabbed that I thought were fun, funny, and interesting. By the way, I saw my emails just lit up with questions. I just tweeted to everybody again, we're making Paramerican Radio right now. Send us your questions. So I grabbed a couple that I thought were really funny. This one comes from Dutch from Hemet, California. Does Steve only Tinder with the women, or does he play with the fellas?
Okay, well, Steve? Definitely do not play with any
Steve,
fellas.
come on, be real.
Very real.
Steve, this is a safe place.
I have absolutely nothing against being gay. I work with the gay community and whatnot, but definitely no. I've never experimented, have no desire to.
You ever wanted to?
no desire.
Never
to.
just woke up and was like, what would it be like to plan
No,
a big kiss on a man?
No, yeah.
I believe you. I think you're an honest man. I look at it this way. I've had fans that are gay fans. I've gotten letters. I've been hit on by gay guys. I always look at that shit as just a compliment, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if they're gay and they're like into you, it's a compliment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Honestly. And the gay community has always, I've been a big advocate for gay rights online too, and the gay community has been fucking amazing to me, and they've always stood up for me. And the times where I've been hit on, well, there was one time specifically I was on a plane in Chicago, and our plane got literally stuck on the tarmac for 6 hours, and the steward kept hitting on me to the point where I got done. He came in line and he left me. We were laid over. And he left me his phone number. And he came up to me and he was like, "Hey, if you need a place to stay tonight," and it was just so forward. And that's where I stayed that night. So, it was so forward. So I pulled to the side and I just said, "Hey, listen. I mean, I don't know if I've done anything to like make you believe that I'm, you know, I'm just not gay, but you know, I do appreciate the comment, but I'm really not." And he was embarrassed. You know what I mean? He was like, "I'm so fucking sorry. I just read this wrong way." And we ended up having this conversation. That was kind of cool. Where I was like, really? Well, what was it about me that made you think I was gay? You know?
So you like me?
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Well, you know what he said? He goes, "You don't wear your facial hair in the straightest way." I'm like, really? So a goatee means you're gay? I don't know. I don't know. That's what he said to me. But no, I think...
Dude, that's funny. That happened in college. When I was about Steve's age, when I was HUD, my old roommate HUD.
It's a compliment,
we were about the players. We were, you know, you're like, and we were sitting there laughing at each other, who's the bigger player and something. The phone rings and HUD walks over and he goes, "See, it's for you." So I walk over and I go, "Hello," and it's a guy and he's like, "Is this Justin Holstein?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "You come in and you rent movies at so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "Well, I just see you, I work there and I just see you come in sometimes."
Hold on, was this That's Entertainment?
The
movie place?
Yeah, it was I think so. It was close to where I live with.
I know the dude you're talking about. Yes. Oh my God. That's Entertainment, the one right off Lincoln, with the side lights, the red panel lights and everything. Yeah, dude. I know this guy. Wow. So this guy made a move on you.
Yeah, I'm thinking at the time, because HUD said, you know, I thought this was a joke. Maybe like HUD called somebody and told him to call, and like. So I'm like, I'm just kind of playing along, thinking at some point he's gonna start, you know, laughing or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's, "Well, I just think you're cute, and I was gonna tell you that." And I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you." And I'm thinking,
it's a compliment.
I'm still waiting,
man.
right, to think the laugh is gonna come from whoever had just called. And he goes, "Well, I feel good about that, and just, you know, for saying it." And I'm like,
that's cool.
Wait a minute. As he's saying, I'm remembering. Oh, I remember this guy now. Wait a minute, that guy was looking at me weird, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now I felt bad.
His name was Steve.
You knew him?
Yes,
Huh.
I knew him. Yeah,
you knew him. How'd you know him? Know him? Just like,
you know, if you remember, there's a pretty good looking blonde that worked there, and I remember That's Entertainment had the big porn section. They had the back porn room. You know what I'm talking about? That's Entertainment had a back porn room.
Huh.
I knew about it because, well, look, I'm a guy, right?
Yeah.
Well, Marty also was into porn. We were both into porn, like big time when I was in college. So we'd go there all the time. And I just made friends with the girl there. I ended up partying with her and hooking up a few times with her. And then I got free rentals there for my entire 4 years that I was in Ames, Iowa. I never paid to rent a movie. Huh. I'd come get 6, 7 of them at a time, take them back home. Amazing. And back in VHS days, you had to get your copy before anybody else took it out. It was golden. So Steve, the manager, got to know me through my relationship with this girl. But yeah, I just got to know him, and yeah, he was gay, and he was a super nice guy. I just said, it's so funny that he called you. But yeah, with things like 35-inch Mutter, believe it or not, we had gay fans. We had gay fans that found it very, very hard to communicate that with us because we were like a hardcore band, but they would let us know, you know what I mean? And it was, I always looked at it just, you know, look, obviously if you were gay, you'd love it, right? You'd be like, wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So even though you're not gay, I look at it the same way as if a girl that I wasn't physically attracted to came up and said to me, God, you're really good looking. You know what I mean? If it was a girl that I wasn't attracted to, I would still take it as a compliment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Same. So, all right, having said that, Cara from Detroit, Michigan, one of my favorite frickin' towns in the world. I think this is to Justin and I. Have you guys ever gotten in a fight? If not, if you did, who would win? I can honestly tell you, Justin would fuck me up, man. I would say this: if Justin could survive, I said this before, if he can survive the first 30 seconds, he pounds me to death. But it's going to be 30 seconds of hellfire. I can say that much. I don't think, have we ever gotten in a physical fight? No. We came maybe close a couple years ago, but I wouldn't even say that was close necessarily. It was just, things were just, we're in a bad kind of place.
Yeah.
But no, I think Justin also knows. I don't, like I said, I don't roll with violence. I take that shit real serious. And if someone's going to be violent towards me, at the very minimum, they will never be in my life. I mean, that's it. There's no second chance. Like, I just don't believe anybody has the right to put their fucking hands on anybody across the board. So we've never gotten in a physical altercation with each other. But Justin, besides the fact that he's small as a baby, you know, he's like a little, you can hold him in your hands, he's like a little baby, you know what I mean? He is a former wrestler, a very good one. I always say you just never want to fight wrestlers. They just, it's like dudes who know, in MMA, what's the...
Muay Thai?
It's called, what's the main martial art in MMA that they use to basically get you on the ground?
Jiu-jitsu.
And jiu-jitsu. I mean, that's the thing. You get to fight those jiu-jitsu guys, they get you on the ground, choke the shit out of you. They just know how to do it. Same thing with wrestlers. They get you on the ground, they just know how to fight you, you know? I've been in probably 5, 6, with Travis Custer alone, I was in a dozen fights, but I probably fought 6 different guys in my life. I would say my record's 4-2, right? The 2 guys that walloped on me were both wrestlers. And it was over before it started, man. I hit the ground, I couldn't fucking move. My arm was stuck to my body, and I couldn't fucking, you know, and it just is what it is, you know? So I'm sure Justin would agree that you'd probably wallop, especially now, dude. So fucking out of shape right now. My God.
It's more than anything else. It's just anything you spend your life doing. If you want to focus on something for years at a time, you'll get really good at it, you know? That happened. I remember in Ames, Iowa, the football players, there would be like a brawl occasionally between the wrestlers and the football players. And it's not even a contest, you know? Yeah. But you think about it, that's all the wrestlers do. They've been training to fight their whole lives, every day, 3 hours a day. You know, that you don't do that in football. You catch a ball, you know. If you wanted to put the wrestlers on the football field, I'm sure they'd get their asses handed to them, you know, playing football, but not fighting.
Yeah. All right, and Yelena from Washington, D.C. asks, what is my favorite strain? I'm assuming this is a weed question. I'm not a smoker. I'm not. People are surprised by this. I've had many fans on tour think I'm a smoker, a lot of them, and offer me, you know, a hit, like a one hitter or or a joint or whatever. Not a smoker. Just not. The thing is, I've smoked weed. I said this. I've smoked weed, of course. If you guys can tell, I talk really fucking fast, and my mind works really fucking fast. And when it slows way, way, way down, I feel uncomfortable. And weed just slows me down, and I feel uncomfortable. And usually I just want to sleep right afterwards, or I'm really hungry. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just not fun to me. It's like, dude, you want to rock? Yeah, dude. We're going to get hungry as fuck, and we're going to sleep. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like, you know what I mean? That's not a party to me, you know? It's like, dude, you got that good shit. Yeah, this shit will get you real hungry.
Yeah.
And when you're done, you'll want to zonk out, you know?
It's funny, though. It is the most harmless one out of all of them.
No, it is. It totally is. And I don't know. You don't mind the weed. You and Joey like the weed.
No.
Steve, are you a weed smoker? You like the weed?
No. I was for a while, and if I did, I would do sativa because it does the exact opposite of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
For the most part, supposedly, but. No.
What are the 2 different brands? There's sativa and...
Sativa is supposed to be like uplifting, and it's supposed to give you energy.
And what's the other one?
And indica is supposed to...
Indica brings you down.
Yeah, sleep, hunger.
Yeah, see,
I'm more into like just shared experience. You know, I've never gone out and bought weed ever in my life. I've never wanted to. It's not something I really like having. It's more so the shared experience, right? So if somebody else goes, dude, I'm gonna hit it up, man. You want to hang? And yet nothing else to do, and I don't have to. I cannot work or think logically
that's why I like the buzz of alcohol. I cannot do another hangover. I was in a band for fucking 5 years and took 20 years off my life drinking. And I've always loved the buzz. But what I loved about the buzz of alcohol, exactly what you're saying, is I'm a happy drunk. So it's life and times, man. You know, it was like a pushing a fun button. You know what I mean? You just gotta, with alcohol, you pay too big of a price too soon. You know, it's over quick and you feel like shit fast, you know? So that's the only thing. So Yelena, I don't have a strain, you know? Yeah, I don't even know how to. I'm trying to think of a clever thing to snap this up, but I don't know what to say. I don't have a strain, but if I ever hear of a good strain that's kind of cool, I'll shout it out. So, having said that, thank you guys again for listening. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Mr. Holstein. It was a fantastic conversation we had about the CIA and disclosure. Please come back and listen to us again. Until next time. For Steve Tinder Zillman, did I say that right? Zillman, I said, wow. For Steve Tinder Zilberman and for Justin Holstein, say goodbye, guys.
Peace. See you later.
We are out of here. Peace.
Paramerican Radio.
The straw killed the camel. When your own mother has no choice but to walk away from the ghost of her only son, who still walks with his transparent, dullard tenant, who has taken up residency in his vacant carcass, but over and again, to call her sadness is an insult to her emotions. The moment her back rests on her closed front door at the end of the day, of a work day, of any day, she begins sobbing. She prays for my very troubled soul in life. She cries her eyes out, day and night, remembering word for word the last thick-tongued, slurred, hateful phone call I'd made. It was the last time we had spoken. On that day, I told her spitefully that I would kill myself again, over and over and over, till she dropped the phone and ran out into her front lawn and threw herself on the ground, and there she stayed, racking her brain over why and how her firstborn's love-filled nature ever came to be withered and dying on the barb when his young life should be in full bloom. When Mom quit answering the phone and walked away from me, I wasn't calling anyhow. While I'm arrogant, aloof, insane, a liar, and completely blind, she in unison is trapped in private hell, made of me. Love is nothing more than a jack-o'-lantern. Love is a jack-o'-lantern that hovers over graveyards and bogs. But if you take that love and attach it to will, it becomes a lighthouse that brings you safely into harbor every time. Study hard on that.
It's just a reason to deny all the limits that border on the thinnest frailties that make a sudden change. And I'll play my soul to sleep. I'll make up words that I keep, letting nothing go to anyone at all. So where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. So where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. And all of them bleed at the nerve that takes so long to wear down. And I'll pray my soul to sleep. I'll make up words that I keep, letting nothing go to anyone at all. So where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table. So where is your loyalty now? When all the cards have been left on the table.
A wild thing, sorry for itself. The bird will fall frozen dead from a bough, without ever having felt sorry